Story time about how I got in trouble for flirting with my 20-year-old neighbor. So, a little background information: I was 15 and in ninth grade. And the one day I was walking my dogs with my friend whenever I saw one of my neighbors outside. And of course, because I told her that I thought he was cute, she started making a huge scene, yelling at the top of her lungs, telling me to go up to him. So I end up going up to him, and fast forward a week or two, we were talking and hanging out. And I never thought to ask his age, but he knew how old I was. And my mom and dad got to know him since he came around pretty often. Like, he would come over for movie night, and on one couch it would be me, him, and my sisters under a huge blanket, and then on the other couch would be my parents. Fast forward, he comes over to my house the next day, and my parents were taking a nap and both of my sisters were at school, and him and I were in the living room flirting with each other, and I didn't know that my dad was in the hallway listening. And we were talking about me going over to his house, and then my dad steps out of the hallway and he's like, "Where are you going without telling anybody?" Like, for part two. Part two about how I got caught flirting with my 20-year-old neighbor. So like I said, he was over my house, and then we were talking about how we should go to his, and then my dad was listening in the hallway secretly. And then he comes out and he's like, "So where are you guys going without telling anybody?" And my neighbor had walked out the front door, and I was like, "Oh, I'm not going anywhere, I'm just locking the door behind him." And then my dad goes out after him. And then after hearing them talk outside, my dad came in and slammed the front door closed. And then my dad storms into my room and he's like, "You know, I heard you flirting with him, right?" Of course, my making it worse, I tried to convince him that we knew he was there the whole time and we were just doing a prank on him. It didn't work. And I ended up getting grounded for 2 months and having to get a summer job to pay for bills and any trips that I had planned for the summer.
It's been a minute since I shared a story with you guys from the time I lived in Hollywood, so let's go ahead and get into another one. So the story starts when I'm a junior in high school. I followed this random Instagram model that my best friend found. We both thought he was cute. Never in my life did I think that I was going to end up having to get a restraining order against this guy and involve the police. Fast forward, I'm now 18 years old and I'm living on my own. My best friend at the time wanted to go to LA and just do a little girls trip, so we booked a hotel. I believe it was called the Grafton, but now they changed the name to the Ziggy. So before we got to LA, I'm looking through my following list. I'm like, let me see who lives out there that I could try to hit up. And I see this guy and I thought, and I sent him a DM. Big mistake. He ended up responding pretty quickly and told me that there was this little like dance competition going on at this club that was on Hollywood and Vine. He told us to meet him at his apartment and we would all go together. For whatever fucking reason, we thought that was a good idea and we went. Just because somebody has a little bit of money, a little bit of followers, does not mean that they are safe. If anything, that gives them more reasons to be weird because they have the resources to get away with it. So lesson number 1. Once we got to his apartment, it wasn't just him like he said it would be. It was actually him and another guy, but the friend was really, really nice. We were talking to him while he was over in the kitchen preparing drinks. The whole time I'm watching him make the drinks and he's acting very like sus, looking over his shoulder. And when he notices that I'm watching him, he like starts scrambling. So I send my friend a text message and I say, "Do not drink whatever he gives us. Look at him. He's being sus as..." Once he finally gives us the drinks, he could tell that we're not gonna drink them because it's been a couple of minutes. We're just talking to his friend. He's not trying to like interact with our conversation at all. He's mad. He's like, "Can you just hurry up and drink them so we can leave?" I guess his friend tried to like diffuse the situation. So he's like, "Okay, let's just go ahead and leave." Once we get to the club, like I said, this guy was not trying to talk to us at all at his apartment. So why when we get to this club, he's trying to touch up on me, be up all over my body? I made it obvious that he was making me uncomfortable and I started just kind of like talking to his friend and he stormed off and left me alone. When I let the friend know that the vibe was not there and we were going to go ahead and leave, he felt so bad that he offered to take us to go and get some dinner real quick. So we did that and then we went back to our hotel. I wake up to like 10 missed calls and all these text messages from the model guy talking about, "Where did you go last night? I was looking for you. Why'd you leave?" And I let him know, like, you were being weird. Like, that was not a good time. And he felt bad. And he said, "Oh, let me go ahead and try again tonight. Like, let me pick you guys up. Let's go do something." This man did not even have a car. At the time, I was very young and curious. So I wanted to go up into one of the little clubs and like see what was going on. So we told him to meet us there, and girl, the entire time him and my friend are just fighting and arguing about like nothing. We got asked to leave, so as we're like walking down the sidewalk back to our hotel, they are just yelling and arguing with each other, trying to come up to the room because he still wants to chill. And my friend's like, "Oh yeah, that's a great idea, come on up," even though I texted her like 5 times like, "Okay, we need to lose him." So now this guy's in our freaking hotel room and we're all just like sitting down. No one's even talking. And then my friend jumps up, puts on some heels, and she says, "Oh, I gotta go meet this guy downstairs. Bye." So bitch, now I'm here with this guy by myself and he starts acting fucking crazy. I can't get too graphic here on TikTok, but let's just say that I was literally running around in circles trying to get away from this guy for a very certain reason. Like, girl, this guy bites me. Bites me. The whole time I'm like yelling in there, but like no one's knocking on the door. No one's coming to help me. But eventually my friend ends up showing up again. By the way, we're not friends anymore. She ends up showing up to the room and she's like, "What's going on in here? Like, I could literally hear you yelling from down the hall. I just came to get my card." And at this point, this man runs into the bathroom and I'm like telling her like what just happened. I don't know what to do because I had another scary situation happen to me in May of that same year and the police were no help, so I don't know who to call. So my friend just starts yelling at the guy to leave and he eventually does. Fast forward to the end of summer, my social medias were growing pretty good, so I wanted to move to LA and possibly connect with other influencers. Obviously, I didn't forget the whole situation that happened to me a couple months before, but I didn't want it to hold me back from trying something different. After only a couple of weeks of living there, this guy starts messaging me from other accounts that he made because I had his main one blocked, talking about we didn't leave things off on the right foot, like let's try again. So I just keep blocking. And it's like one day I just started seeing him everywhere I was going, whether it was the Galleria Mall, just walking down Hollywood Boulevard, going to the Beverly Center. I kept seeing him everywhere. So one day I'm hanging out with my girl Kelly Sweet and we're driving around. We're maybe one street over from my apartment. And who do we see on the corner? When I say this man was showing up everywhere, like, girl, there's no reason he should be at the wig store that I'm shopping at. The wig store. So I decided, you know what? The police didn't help me that one time, but let's try again. And I filed for a restraining order. And by the grace of God, girl, I actually got it. Because this guy knew where I lived, they recommended that I move to a different apartment building. So I did just that. So now at this point, I'm living in Glendale. It did not matter that I moved. This man was still showing up to places that I was at. He did not care that I had a restraining order against him. And girl, the paranoia and just like not feeling safe was starting to relieve my mental health. So I had a roommate at the time because I did not feel safe living by myself anymore. Girl, and it did not help that I had an influencer break into my apartment. Do I ever get a break? I had a whole other influencer break into my apartment building and just do all this crazy shit. So like just all of this stacking up, I took the hint and I left LA. I left California. I said, this is clearly not the place for me to be. So that was the time that I got stalked by a fucking Instagram model.
When you go home at night, don't turn your lights on immediately after you get in your apartment, especially if people can see the windows of your apartment from the street. Because if someone's following you home, they're gonna know what apartment you live in. When I got home tonight, I got out of my car and there was a man getting shit out of his car. I had never seen him before this morning when he was in my apartment complex area. And he just gave me bad vibes, but whatever. I got out of my car at night and he tries to make conversation with me about my headlight because it's out right now. I'm like, oh yeah, I know, I just have to get around to it, whatever. I go inside, don't turn the lights on, but I have a feeling to check my Ring camera. He's standing in the street, which is very close to my apartment building, staring at my building. And he did not leave for like 5 minutes. I mean, like halfway through, he left the empty parking spot and hid behind a car, but he waited to see. So now he knows what car I drive and where I live, just not my apartment. So, don't turn your lights on.